Hey there guys, so I want to thank you for taking the time to check out today's video, and I really again do appreciate you guys in supporting my content and again taking time to comment as well as of course like each of the videos that I've shared. I really do appreciate it. So in today's discussion, I'm going over probably a pretty difficult topic, I guess you could say. And I feel like it was something that I wanted to discuss. It was something that has been in my mind since it's sort of happened. And then there's also another extension to that I do want to discuss as well. So there's basically a combination of two different things that I sort of want to go over in this video. And so hopefully as I discuss this, I'm not going to be all over the place, and that I'll try to keep these topics sort of in a straightforward manner as much as possible. But the first topic that I want to go over today is over what has happened recently. This happened around 6 days ago, and I know that the reporting on this sort of event happened 6 days ago, but some of the things that I'm going to be discussing today are really new, recent sort of things that have been going on. So about 6 days ago, there was an event which was the Berlin Pride. And basically there was like the Christopher Street Day parade was happening as well. And there was a ton of a ton of people at this event. So this was basically, of course, a LGBTQ Pride event that happened. And at this event, this is a pretty popular event from what I've researched. I did look up and read a little bit of sort of the articles related to this. One of the articles that I did read on this topic was basically from the BBC. But of course there's other outlets that discussed it. But basically what happened, and this is pretty shocking in a lot of ways, because from what I read as far as for Berlin Pride is that this is actually a pretty, sort of really accepting area, or really accepting, sort of city, in Europe. And so basically what happened, and I want to keep this, as really respectful as much as possible, and not, not of course affect any YouTube terms, but basically there was a individual who drove into this group of people that was at this Pride parade. And from what I'd read too, it not only, there was like, what I had read was like 20 or so people were injured, but also there was one individual that was killed in this event. But also I had read that there was like stabbings that had happened at the same time. And at this, again, this is like a pretty, accepting place that this happened. So this is pretty shocking in a lot of ways that something like this happened. And there's a lot of people that were really harmed and injured at this event. But I did not know that it went beyond just the car driving into the crowd, but also somebody coming out and stabbing people. It's just, it's really unbelievable. But again, this is the state of the world we live in. It's unfortunately, excuse me, this is the state of the world that we're at. And I just kept thinking about this event, and there's no way that you can comprehend or really process something like that. We hear a lot of things like this happen pretty often, and it's sad because it's become to a point to where we get desensitized to a lot of these events that happen like this, and it just becomes another thing that happens. And it's sad to say that, but that's really become the reality. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is why the event of Pride is so significant in a lot of ways, and why it's still relevant in a lot of ways because of this situation in itself. This is the reason why this exists, why Pride exists in the way it does, is because of how hostile and how just inhumane, people are, like, basically inhumanely people are attacked for, just existing, and it's sad. It's sad that, we live in a world that just is just unhinged in this way, to where it's just because some people, have a specific sexual orientation, or because some people have a different gender identity, that we're at this point to where we're just unhinged and we just want to harm people just for the sake of it. And so it's just a sad reality that we live in this day and age. So I was really processing this. I really was. It was just something that kind of shook me when I heard about it, and I was just like thinking, it's like a what if. What if this happened somewhere else? It's not that uncommon, or not that out of the ordinary for something like this to happen somewhere else. And even like where I went, because I went to West Hollywood this summer, and that is a very, well, known place, and very well known for the LGBTQ community, and is also one of the, most gay friendly places in the world. But to know that like a place, like in Berlin where that happened, that something so unhinged happened at such an accepting place, is pretty shocking. So it just shows you sort of the reality of what we live in now. And so this kind of goes into the extension to something else that I had come across here recently. And I'm going to try to sort of share some links and references that you guys can look into related to this, what I'm going to discuss next. And I will share, some of the information related to the Berlin sort of incident that happened. But this is another thing that I think is completely connected. And well, I won't say it's necessarily completely connected to this event, but it has a lot of, it's really just as important to bring attention to this as well. So there's a lot of different videos that I, watch, a lot of different podcasts that I listen to. And I had come across here recently, I've seen this guy come up multiple times in some of the videos that I've watched. And this is supposedly in, evangelical pastor. And so this guy's name is, from what I know, is Doug Wilson. I believe I'm getting the name correct. And this is supposedly an evangelical pastor. He's basically, sort of this, I don't know how you describe it. He's like very, I guess, radical in a lot of his views. But some of the things that this guy says is like so completely, insane in a lot of ways. And the reason why I'm mentioning this guy is because this guy is really closely connected to a lot of the, sort of individuals that are, within the government. Now, he's not necessarily in the government, but he is connected to a lot of individuals that are. And the things that this guy says, and why he's like, it's really very scary, because he's gained a lot of traction. And this guy has been interviewed by a lot of different outlets. Like, he's been interviewed in a lot of different ways. I believe, I could be getting this wrong, but I believe that he was interviewed by NPR maybe, or I think there was another interview that he had did, but he has been interviewed in some pretty well-known news places. But this guy's a pastor, and he's an evangelical pastor, and he has a lot of these really insane viewpoints, where basically believing that women shouldn't be able to vote. There was a video that I had watched. He basically did sort of an interview, and I'll try to link some of the video to this as well, where he did an interview with this podcast that is called Uncloseted. This is an openly gay man that does this podcast, and he interviews a lot of different people, but he actually did an interview with this guy. And this guy is basically like, what he says in this interview is talking about how, talking about basically the overturning of Obergefell, which, if you're not aware, Obergefell is basically the court decision that allowed for same-sex marriage to be legal in the United States. And so this guy has talked about trying to overturn Obergefell, in which he's talked about, not only that, but he's also mentioning how basically the decision for Roe v. Wade, how that was overturned, and how they just want to, do the same with this decision on Obergefell. And it's just like it's insane. It's like it's just unhinged. And it's not only that in itself, but his other sort of opinions as well, talking about women should have the right to vote, talking about not only the overturning of the Obergefell, but also about basically criminalizing gay people at the same time. And it's completely unhinged. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like so wild that we have these people that are just outright, just saying these things like this and being open about it. And like, this guy is just so nonchalant with how he talks about a lot of these different things, like especially in this podcast that he did on with the Uncloseted, where he's just nonchalantly saying these things. And again, this guy is like basically a white supremacist. I mean, he's basically just this really unhinged person. But it's not only that he's, sort of seems like this fringe guy, but a lot of the things that he's, saying, and he's becoming more, mainstream in a lot of ways, which is sad. It's like we're living in a very unusual time, and a very unusual, there's a lot of things that are just so off-putting with everything. I mean, and the reason why I mentioned, this individual alongside this event that happened, this tragic event that happened, is like just to bring sort of a sense of awareness to the world that we live in, and why it's important to really, again, just be more aware of the environment that we live in. And again, to always try to be a force of positivity for others, and try to be somebody who, again, is bringing more of a sense of calmness into the chaos that we live around. And it's sad. It's saddening to discuss this too, because I've been having a really difficult time here recently. This is outside of just these topics in itself. It's just personally a lot of what I'm going through, and I'm having to deal with other things where it's just like I'm not really sure the direction that my life is going. It's just a lot of different things, but I don't want to get into that. But as much as I'm dealing with that, talking about this, I still think is just relevant. I think it's important to bring awareness to this. But like I said, guys, I'll try to share some links on some reference points on some of the information that I had come across on these things. But this stuff is like really hitting close to home, and that's the reason why I'm mentioning it, and why I think it's important for us to be aware. And again, I'm somebody who, I've gotten so tired of the news. I've gotten so tired of just the reality of things in general. But I always try to be, really aware of what's going on, and really pay attention to kind of where we're at in our modern times, as much as I would rather not. But I just wanted to share that. And the reason I'm sharing this is so that you guys are aware sort of some of the things going on. I know that I've not really shared, as far as some of these videos, I've not really shared really, I guess, topics related to things that are going on. But this is like something that I just feel like I wanted to sort of just share and get out, and really to get it out of my head at the same time, because it's just, it's really, it's disheartening. And I think it's something that we need to be aware of the reality of things, and really being cautious, and again, trying to find the people around us who are going to love us, and again, be there for us more than ever. Like what I've mentioned before, it's important to have a group of friends who are seen as a family to you, and especially when you're somebody who is, LGBTQ, it's important to have that sense of belonging with people, like I've mentioned in many other videos. And I think it's more important now than ever. And like what I've mentioned, where I've discussed pride multiple times, that's why pride is still so important in a lot of ways, because of, again, our world is just, it's not in that place where, we still have people that are harmed. We still have this and that's happening. And so it's important to, again, bring awareness to that as much as possible. And that's why pride and all of these events exist, because of that because of the reality of the world we live in. But again, guys, I just wanted to share a few of these things and sort of, again, like I said, not only get it off my chest, but share it with you guys and sort of share the reality of what we live in, unfortunately. But thank you guys for watching. I hope that this, gave you a little bit of insight on what's going on. And again, I know I don't usually discuss relevant, not really relevant, but things that are going on here and there. But I just wanted to share this because it kind of affected me. It was something I was thinking about the past week. I was like, I have to talk about this. It's like one thing I know I wanted to talk about. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys want me to discuss anything else, if you have any sort of comments you'd like to share, feel free. But I really appreciate you guys and your support. And again, it does give me a sense of peace and calmness knowing that you guys have been there and that I know that, I have a support system around me. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.